We've been at City of Rocks for the last 3 days. City of Rocks is a combination of federal park and state park down in southern Idaho. California Trail went through the City of Rocks, and we've been doing some work to track down some places where the trail wasn't really identified and working with the park rangers to do some other work within the park. There's a lot of immigrant diaries that talk about the interesting rock formations in City of Rocks. And in some of the places, there's still immigrant names that were written on these rocks. So it's a very interesting site. Hi, my name is Jerry Eichhorst. I'm the president of the Idaho chapter of the Oregon-California Trail Association, otherwise known as OCTA. OCTA is the leading organization dedicated to the preservation and the enjoyment of the immigrant trails across the country.
My name is Tara McClure-Cannon. I'm the acting superintendent at City of Rocks National Reserve, and I'm also an archaeologist. So this week we've been working with the Oregon-California Trails Association. They usually come out once a year and we do a special project. This year we're doing some archaeological testing of potential grave sites that were identified by cadaver dogs several years ago.
July 27th, as we approached the summit of one of the principal ridges, our progress appeared to be opposed by a solid wall of granite. But a narrow opening was soon discovered through which air was driven with such violence as almost to force us back. The passage was barely sufficient for a road. William North Steuben, 1849.
So this is a very narrow gap. The immigrants talked about it being very narrow. Some of them talked about writing their names on the rocks beside this. When I found a diary account that talked about that, I sent it to Wallace Keck, who was the manager of City of Rocks at the time. He climbed up on the rock here behind you and found some names on that rock. The diary accounts talk about it being covered in rock, or covered in names, but as with all of those, they disappear with time. There appears to be a remnant of an immigrant name written in axle grease on the rock here. There may have been some that were carved in here, some multiple names at some point. They faded away. These type of rocks that were beside the trail became post offices for the immigrants. They would leave their name and the date so that their friends traveling later or another year would see that and recognize that their friend had gotten this far. So this is a very common practice. In City of Rocks, there's some great names on Camp Rock and Register Rock, and we'll show those to you later in the video. Writing names on rocks was like a post office. Okay, you put your name on the rock so that your friends would see that name when they came through later that year or next year or whenever. They did it on the Midwest on buffalo skulls and left them beside the trail. But anytime there's a rock that they could write their name on, you'll often find names on it. This is one of the best examples, the most well-preserved examples of axle grease names anywhere. You'll find a lot of other places that have carved names because they do tend to last longer. But axle grease, if it's exposed, it disappears. So imagine this rock totally covered. There's a lot of them that are faded away. You might just see a couple of characters here and there of the name, but there's no way you can protect them and preserve them. And it loses the historic value if you write over them. So take your photos now and enjoy them because they'll be gone.
I've been with the reserve now for 7 years, and it's a really special place. you don't really know it's here until you're in the middle of it and you see those granite spires, and it's truly breathtaking. We have quotes from the immigrants that were on the trail in the 1860s who, you know, they start to wax poetic about what they're seeing because they've never seen it before, and that's truly awe-inspiring. And it's something that you still feel today when you're in City of Rocks. And I'm very privileged to work here and be a part of its preservation.
So I've been coming out to City of Rocks for probably 20 years or so. We've been doing these regular events 5, 8, 10 years or so. I've become friends with the park's personnel. I have a diary collection and I compile the diaries by location. So I'm compiling these diaries for City of Rocks and trying to find how people came into the park, you know, clearing up some unknown as to how people actually came into the park on the California Trail. I think we cleared that up in the last 3 days. Just trying to compile that information to give the park's people a better view of what the immigrants thought of the park and how they wrote about the park and so on. That's really what my connection is through the immigrant diaries, tying it to the actual locations and making it all fit together.